This video training, it's all about how communication takes place from the leader to the team. And we're just going to give you some quick tips in terms of how do you go about effectively and adequately communicate with your team. Whether it's a team of 5 or a team of 50, it's very, very important that you understand the power that you have in terms of how you communicate. Because how you communicate with your internal team members, it's going to influence how they ultimately communicate amongst each other, and of course how they communicate with the consumers that you're providing services and solutions for. And so as an owner or a leader of a business, you need to constantly be consistent, you need to be clear, and of course, most importantly, you need to be courteous in your interactions with the team as a whole. That's very, very critical. As a leader, you need to listen, invite, and encourage participation from the team. The leader must help the team to concentrate on what they do well, help them to do it better, and of course, consistently. A leader, for example, with great passion and few skills will always outperform the leader with great skills and no passion. That means that when a leader is full of fire and passion, the people that he or she leads will be very, very hot. And you will see it in how they carry out their activities, how they do their job, how they show up to work, how they interact with consumers, how they just excel at every single task that they get given, simply because they see you as a business owner carrying those same characteristics. And so let's break it down in each and every one of those characteristics that we alluded to earlier on, in terms of how communication should be taking place with regards you as a leader towards your staff. In terms of being consistent, actions will always speak louder than your words. As a leader, what you say and what you do should be aligned with what your team sees, and they will get that confidence from you, and they will trust what you say when what you say and what you do is the same thing. You cannot say or expect people to show up at work at a particular point in time, but what they're constantly picking up from you as a leader is a carefree type of attitude. You show up at work whenever you feel like it, without adequately communicating with your team in terms of what your schedule is like. And so it's very, very important that part of what they see and hear from you is that they need to know what your schedule looks like, especially within an optometric practice. There's a lot of optometric practices whereby the business owner just rocks up at any given time of the day. They call in, are there patients or not? Think about it this way. If you as a business owner is going to call your staff, your own practice, asking them, is there any patients booked today? And they say to you, no, we only have at 12 o'clock. And you show up at work at 12 o'clock or just before 12. What do you think is happening between 9 o'clock and 11:30 just before you show up? They have a carefree attitude as well. The consumers that are interacting with them are busy having the type of communication or interaction or experience that you are constantly giving your team. What your team picks up from you, what your team sees from you, is what they're going to deliver to the consumer that requires your services. Then when you don't see the results that you feel that your practice needs to be getting, you're going to get the shock of your life, thinking that, but wait a minute, we've got great products, great pricing, we've got a great team on board. Why are we not seeing the results that we're supposed to be seeing? That's because the service delivery is very, very poor, because the team is functioning at the level at which they see you functioning as the business owner. So it's very, very important that one of the things that you constantly model as a business owner is a high work ethic and a positive attitude. Your team should never be hearing anything negative coming out of your mouth. Whether the economy is slow or not, whether things are happening the way they're supposed to be happening in the practice or not, your team needs to see you being solution orientated, looking at problems with a solution in mind, looking at different ways you can do things, constantly increasing your work ethic, doing things that are at a level at which they can be inspired by, You can never expect staff to do things that you yourself are not doing. And so before you give staff instructions on the day-to-day stuff, they need to be seeing that which you're expecting from them in you. Very, very important that you are consistent in the things that you are doing as a business owner. And you will find yourself that you have to speak less in terms of instructions and what you want the team to do when they can see it, because they will model what they see, not necessarily what they hear. Always remember that. Next thing, be clear when you're communicating. What is your message? Can you say it easily? Is it simple? Is it relevant? And is it repeatable? Can your entire team repeat your message in a way that is compelling? So how you share the vision, how you share the promotions, how you share the issue around sales, pricing, quotations, how you communicate with patients, how you give them instructions, all of that. What you are saying, is it exactly how you're expecting or thinking your team is receiving it? So very, very, very important is that you need to make sure that whatever you're communicating with your team, you are always clear and that they can easily understand that, what you are trying to say. And make sure that every one of the team is understanding what you mean. And here's a quick tip, what I've noticed. You have to understand and know your people. What do I mean by that? There are certain instructions that you would give in the context of the whole team. But some people don't hear well or listen well enough in the context of the team meeting. But on an individual manner, you then understand that, wait a minute, I need to communicate with Lerato in this manner, because on a one-on-one, she gets to be open enough to ask me questions pertaining to clarity or get a better understanding of the instructions that I just gave her. But in the context of a team, she shies away from asking questions that are pertinent to the instructions that are going to influence how we do things as a business. And then she does not deliver on that, and then you're going to get frustrated as the business owner. But had you just pulled her aside, post the group discussion, you would have gotten a better response from her, because she would have understood and she can be able to go and implement. Or another option is, some people, David perhaps within your team, prefers not, and who has been with you over the last 10 years, whereas all the other people are new in the working environment. David perhaps prefers you to just pull him aside before you're going to share whatever that you're going to share with the team. He prefers to know things beforehand. And when you don't do that, it actually frustrates him, and he doesn't end up performing at the level that you're expecting him or that the business requires of him to perform, simply because he heard it for the first time with everyone else, and it's going to be influencing him more than or the instruction that you're giving, it's influencing him more than it's going to be influencing the team, because he's got a bigger role to play in teaching the rest of the team that which you are talking about, in order for the practice to deliver on that which you want them to deliver on. But when you when you don't communicate with him privately, he then has a negative attitude towards that which you are instructing the team to do, and how he trains the rest of the team as the senior person influences how the rest of the team is going to carry out that instruction. So know your people. Know that how I'm clear in a group setting might be different, or it might be received differently within the individual team members within the group. And so very, very important that you are clear in relation to the group setting, but you are also clear in relation to the individual members within your team. Very, very important. Regarding being courteous, care for your team more than anything. Your responsibility as a leader is to take them to a level of thinking that they have never been before. Get to know your team personally, especially considering that there's a handful of them only in the optometric practice. And so if you're a business owner and you've got a diverse culture of team members within your practice, make sure that part of caring for them is learning where they're coming from, learning about their culture, learning about their ethnicity, learning about their communication styles that they're preferring, understanding who they are as individuals, what are their personal aspirations, what are their professional aspirations. Once you understand that and how important that is, and once they know that you care for them more than you care about what the business does, it brings out a certain type of work ethic approach to the business than you would have had you not just focused on that, you know. And so it's very, very important that you connect with the team on a personal level in order to communicate with them on a professional level. That is very, very important for you to understand as a business leader in the context of an optometric practice or a healthcare practice for that matter. Regarding the component of listening, ask team members questions often. Get their opinion, get their feedback, get their advice on matters of importance within the optometric practice. Don't be quick to always give out instructions and expecting them to deliver. What the team thinks and says is very, very important, and they need to know that their views are taken seriously by you. That's part of how the communication from you as the business owner to the team is supposed to work. You might be a practice manager listening into this video training. Same thing applies with you. You listen to understand. You're listening, listen, hear people's views. They need to know that which you are listening to regarding the feedback, the views, the advice, the recommendations, you're considering it. So even if someone comes and says, hey, how about this? You're listening and you're engaging it, you're probing it more, you're asking more questions pertaining to the subject matter that you are discussing. Next thing we say here, invite. As a leader, you need to be invited. Don't make critical decisions without getting the buy-in of the team. When the team is fully behind you, it is far easier to get them to deliver on what is required. And what do we mean by that? You're going to be running a campaign. You're going to be doing a particular promotion. You want to introduce new products. You want to change frames. For example, a perfect example, frames. You've got spectacle frames on your shelves, and the suppliers or the sales reps from the frame companies always come to the practice, and you are the only one who's selecting frames because you are the one paying for them, right? But majority of the time, your staff members are the ones that are interacting with patients in terms of that patient comes in, asks how much, I'm looking for a pair of frames. How much does it cost to have my eyes tested? And I'm looking for a pair of squarish frames, whatever the case may be with regards to those consumers that are walking into the practice, asking questions pertaining to the products that are on the shelves or on the display when you are not there. Who's interacting with those patients? Who's interacting with those customers? It's your staff. And your staff, when they were involved in the selection of the products that are on the display area, they have a sense of authority and ownership in those discussions. So when you then later on are saying, but guys, we're not seeing the sales, why is this product not selling? You cannot have the discussion with them when they were not involved in the selection of that product. So from time to time, when you're looking at getting new products into the practice, always sit down with your team and say, hey guys, what products do you find that are selling the most? What products are people asking for? Next time I'm selecting frames, I want you guys to be involved so that we can look at this thing together. And if you have to get your sales rep to come in earlier or after business hours so that the whole team can participate and partake in regards to the selection of frames, so be it. But you want them to be involved, and then you can pull up the numbers. You guys are saying this. You guys are saying this frame, that frame is what people are asking for. But look at the numbers. Based on what we have sold over the last month, the frames that we have actually been selling quite a lot are not the ones that you guys are saying people are asking for. And yet we have these frames that people are asking for on the shelves, but people are actually buying different frames. So what is the problem? So now it creates an opportunity for you then to introduce that conversation of them understanding that how pricing works, how product selection works, what colors work with different styles and what trends are there. So it's a team involvement, and you are able to have better involvement from the team when you have invited them to actually be part of the decision making within various activities that are taking place on a regular basis. You're looking at doing some new brand activation strategies on your social media profiles, right? Or your platforms. And so when you are asking their opinions, you're asking them what are their thoughts are pertaining to this, pertaining to that, it just creates that environment where they feel like, you know what, I matter here, I contribute here, I'm taken seriously here. My boss wants my opinion. It just creates a better working environment, and it influences the culture within that optometric practice. And ultimately, when the culture is right, the day-to-day operations, the processes, the protocols, the procedures get influenced in a positive manner, and that ultimately is going to influence the sales within the practice. And lastly here, encourage participation. Identify the early adopters, influencers, and catalysts within the team, and get them to be the ones that drive projects within the practice. The example that I made earlier on with David, who has been in your practice longer than all the other people, and every time he feels like his opinion, or he was told things before the rest of the team, and that brings the best out of him. And whenever you now share the rest of the instructions with the team, and you are then saying, David, what are your thoughts if we do it this way? Because you already have the buy-in from David long before discussing with the team. Because why? David is an early adopter or a catalyst or an influencer within your 4 team members. David is then able to say, yeah guys, I've actually been thinking of the same thing. I think this will actually work. And Loretta can do this, Michelle can do this. It's going to actually be perfect in how we're going to go about this on social media. Then all of a sudden, guess what's going to happen? Loretta is then going to say, yeah, actually, I was also thinking of the same thing. We can actually think about doing it like this. Now you're getting that participation from the team. And so you share responsibilities within the practice, and you rotate them as often as you can as a business owner. The key is to equip your team with the necessary skills whilst ensuring the achievement of your objectives within the business. So very, very important that you encourage participation in that manner. Don't just do everything yourself and then only carry out and then only sort of like give instructions to the team and expecting them to deliver on it. You're not going to have the results that you anticipating simply because you never got the buy-in from your team. And so as a summary to this topic pertaining to how you communicate as a leader to the team, be consistent, be clear, be courteous, listen very well. And so you getting the feedback from your team, invite them in terms of getting their involvement, and encourage participation. And that's basically how you communicate as a business owner or the most senior person in the optometry practice to the rest of your team. I hope you have enjoyed this training session. It was just a quick examples of exactly what your approach should be as a business owner. And you'll find that once you start doing it this way, a lot of the activities in terms of how your team implements them is going to be far better than how it has been prior to you learning this new information.